Sach Akha Nanak Guru Nu A Tarti Te Fera Pan Sach Chandrama Bante Dilan Da Ande Gata जब खून दिया नदियां चलियां बाबरबादी के इच्छा एक आया सतनाम च बंदिया तिथि ठंड बढ़ता सात संगत जी वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह. A Qazi once told Alauddin Khilji, if a Muslim wishes to spit in the mouth of a Hindu, he should open his mouth wide. God has created Hindus to be slaves of Muslims. This statement by the Qazi sums up the political environment of the 15th century. When Guru Nanak Dev Ji first appeared on the world stage. In those days, India was constantly being invaded by Muslim kings who had no compassion for any other faiths. They believed that if they killed a non-Muslim, it was considered jihad. This meant that when they died, they were ensured a wonderful time in heaven. Needless to say, with this kind of mentality, the Muslim rulers did not care at all about the people they ruled. The Hindus had to pay a fine, or jizya, just because they were not Muslim. They had turned so weak due to the caste system, they surrendered easily. The rulers looted them, raped their women, and killed them in the name of jihad. Many times, those left alive were turned into slaves. During Guru Nanak's time, there were two main religions in India, Hinduism and Islam. The Muslim Qazis believed that it was the moral obligation of all Muslims to promote Islam by all means possible, and any non-believer of their faith had no right to live. The Hindus, on the other hand, were caught in a caste system leading to inhumane behavior towards the lower castes. They worshipped the creation rather than the creator. Hindus were afraid of the wrath of all natural elements, such as fire, air, and water. Interestingly, on the one hand, they worshipped all of God's creation, but on the other hand, treated women and the Shudra caste worse than animals. While Qazis were the Muslim religious leaders, Hindus had Brahmins and yogis. It was believed that only Brahmins can get salvation, and they in turn took full advantage of this. The yogis felt that you had to give up the world to find God. Guru Nanak Dev Ji describes them in the following lines. The Brahmin kills and takes cleansing baths. The Qazi tells lies and eats fill. The yogi is blind and does not know the way. The three of them devise their own destruction. Today's world has not changed much from those days. We have more religions now, but there is still animosity within as well as between religions. Political leaders are still looking after their own interests instead of the people. Different countries are suspicious of each other, and anyone who looks different from them is racially profiled. Guru Nanak Dev Ji undertook 4 marathon journeys called udasis. When asked by siddhas and yogis as to why he undertook these journeys, his answer was, I am searching for gurmukhs through these udasis. The force behind these udasis is obvious, as Guru Nanak did not concern himself by saying he had brought a message from God, but the message of Guru itself, in essence, was God. In other words, Shabad Guru was the force with him. This initiated with a deep mystical communion with God during a dip in River Main. When he emerged, his statement was, Nako Hindu na Musalman. The call then came to him to spread this truth and put humanity on the right path. Guru Nanak Dev Ji spread Gurmat by using different methods with different people. A very important thing to know is that all his methods were underlined with love and compassion for humanity. Instead of approaching the local Hindus and Muslims, he went to their places of worship where he could find them in large numbers. He learned their native language, donned their local apparel, and used examples from their culture to spread Gurmat. Many times, he would simply do the opposite of what others were doing to engage them in conversation. We are all familiar with the example where he pretended to water his crops that were 400 miles away. Guru Nanak did this to awaken the masses, so they would give up their feudal ritual of giving water to their ancestors. He used a dialectical process with siddhas and yogis, as he knew it would be more effective with them. Guru Nanak showed compassion to Sejin Thug, who tried to poison him and Kodra Rakshas to bring them on the path of Gurmat. Many times, he would just start singing the message of Vaheguru, while people would gather around and begin to follow. Guru Nanak never shied away from telling the truth, no matter how hard it was. An example of this can be seen in the hymns he sang about King Babar's cruelty, without fearing his wrath. Khurasan Kismana Kiya, Hindustan Daraya. Having attacked Khurasan, Babar terrified Hindustan. up against injustice. We don't have to be completely fearless to be courageous. Courage is not the absence of fear, but going forward with the face of fear. Abraham Lincoln. Guru Nanak's key messages to us are as follows. There is one God for all creation, and love and Creator can be attained through the grace. Seek the core of your faith, and don't get caught up in mindless rituals. Ensure absolute equality of humanity. Live a moral, truthful, and hard-working existence. Practice humility and loving action. Defend the rights of the downtrodden and oppressed. Selfless service towards the entire creation, or Sarvata Bila. Sat Sangat Ji. Although we call ourselves Guru Sikhs, we are far from following his teachings. We are still stuck in the same rut of hatred that we were in when Guru Nanak appeared on this earth. Do we take the time to get to know our other cultures and faith like Guru Nanak did? We should follow Buddhist teachings of transcending barriers of faith, caste, creed, and color, accepting and respecting others through their interfaith dialogue. Be a part of a bigger community through PTAs, neighborhood associations, and political parties. Be an activist. If you are not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. As George Bernard Shaw once said, the worst sin towards our fellow creatures is not to hate them, but to be indifferent to them. That is the essence of inhumanity. We say that we love the Creator, but do we also love His creation? Do we see Him in everyone and everything? If we did, we would love everyone. If we could just learn to do this simple deed, I feel all the other key messages will become part of our lives on their own. Ajvair virodha de, kode raya kalka, neta pago ban gaye, lalo dite bula. Sikh, Hindu, Muslim bande, ban ke sabke veer. Dharti tukde ho gayi, bande nadi de neer. Oye dard ula de dardiya, naam da chatta varsa. Vaheguru naam chupake, sanu sach de rahe pa. Vaheguru ji ka khalsa, Vaheguru ji ki fateh.
Thank you, George, for your speech. Morning, George, any decision? Good?
Yeah, I think.
Okay. ठीक है जी, judges will take their time and then we will reconvene for the fifth round. Just recall Simran Singh, Simran Singh. Vaheguru ji ka khalsa, Vaheguru ji. Judges सारे अजय नहीं पहुंचे. चलो जो तक ਅਸੀਂ ਵੇਟ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਜੱਜ ਸਾਹਿਬਾਨ ਦੀ ਤਦ ਤੱਕ ਕੁਐਸਚਨਸ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਹਾਂ. ਪਹਿਲਾ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਹੈ discuss the circumstances that led to the development of Singh Sabha movement. What hurdles did the movement encounter and how were they overcome? Second is which persons or institutions exerted the most influence on the movement and which one exerted the most negative influence? In each case, what were the strategies employed by them? To what extent did the leaders of the movement succeed in their mission and how? The last question is compare the current state of Sikh affairs to the state of Sikh affairs that led to the Singh Sabha movement. Comment on why we keep on committing the same mistakes over and over again. Propose measures that can be taken to resolve some serious